So welcome everyone to the Radiant Health and Wellness Show. My name is Dr. Beata Harasim, and today I have a very special guest with us. He is Ed Cleveland, the owner of Ed Cleveland Sound and Reiki Training Center in Hartford, Connecticut. So if you are local, please go ahead and comment below. Let us know if you are in Connecticut, where you are. And if you're not local, this interview will be really transformational for you. The topic that we have is the path to happiness and living in a judge-free zone. So no matter where you are, stick around for the interview and this really powerful and transformational topic. And again, if you are local and you have the opportunity to visit Ed, as you can see in his background, he has an awesome setup. I was lucky enough to see it in person. So exactly, see that huge gong? It's amazing. So I will let Ed introduce himself further and tell us a little bit more about him.
Ooh.
I love it.
So this happens to be a very rare piece. It's a Shinto Buddhist 5-element tea garden rattle. It's very peaceful. It's museum quality. It's very, very special. Yes, my name is Ed Cleveland. I'm a Neuro-Acoustic sound therapist teacher. Love what I do. Teach like 20 different classes, and they're all based around some of the same principles, falling under the umbrella of finding basically, what you love to do, doing more of that, but how to find that peace and happiness from your own brain and how to allow it to come through your body. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, so beautiful. And especially I've had a lot of experience or have gone through a lot of sound healing and sound therapy and experienced it for myself. And it's just such a beautiful, peaceful modality that is just so easy to receive. And tell me a little bit about how you kind of got started and how you got into it.
Well, I got started through an injury. Some of that information is in my book, as you know.
Yes. I was just reviewing it recently. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Got a injury doing martial arts, and it's easy to break things and it's harder to fix things. So I came back injured and had to go through some certain things, but basically helped me get on the healing modality path by asking the universe a question: what do I need to help me and my 2 kids that I was raising? So it was enlightening experience, and it led me to start with Reiki, which then found out that light comes from sound. So the sound therapy works really well because it enhances, reinforces, and it actually helps bring out the brightness in others.
Yeah, so beautiful. And I think part of our audience may not know necessarily what sound healing or sound therapy is or entails. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about that as well?
Yes. Sound as a therapy can be used with many different instruments. I do gongs and singing bowls and different indigenous instruments like the rattle that I just had. But in most cases, when you go to a sound healing or sound therapy meditation, they'll have different singing bowls, whether they're crystal or bronze, or gongs, drums, rattles, things of that nature. But basically, what you're looking at is for the facilitator to start with some simple beats and rhythms to allow the person's brain to entrain to that certain simple beat and rhythm. And that's basically the left side of your brain. We don't have one brain, we have 2 brains, the left-right hemisphere, and all of our problems are in the left brain. So that's the processing, your fight and flight and everything that you were doing to get here, happens to be the masculine side. Go figure, it's all the problems. Gotta laugh at it. So in the simple beat and rhythm of entraining the brain, and then having a structured program where you're taking them through like a story with sound or working with 5 elemental sounds and things of that nature. But you entrain that left brain, again, where all the problems are, where a person starts to shift and go into their right brain where feelings and emotions are. And most of the time, it's requested that people have their eyes closed. So the gift in having the eyes closed is helping that entraining process Sound is one of the quickest ways to help you in a meditative experience because of this whole process of the entrainment. But when your eyes are closed, it activates something that's called acoustic theory, which your brain will start searching through the database history of your life. What can I give that sound a name?
Hmm.
And if you're seeing the bowls and the gongs, then usually they're those. But if I come off of something different like this, or I have some kind of different bells and chimes, or make different sounds with the gongs, because there's infinite amount of sound you can make with a good quality gong, of sounding like whales and dolphins, or elephants and giraffes. So you have that mystical experience. Your brain is like, ooh, it just took me here, or it brought me to the beach, and there's no problems in that side of your brain. So basically that now helps to activate a person's relaxation response system, which then opens the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system, where that whole para is your friend. The sympathetic is the fight and flight that we're in the grocery store. That's where all this built up stress and blood pressure and all the problems are. So opening up the parasympathetic nervous system helps you to relax, helps to chill out, which then opens up the own body's innate ability to heal itself. What's better than that?
Exactly. That's it. And it just aligns so much, because as again, holistic and integrative doctor of physical therapy, what I'm always looking is oftentimes the fight or flight is what's preventing people from getting into the healing state. That's one of the biggest underlying root causes. And there's lots of different modalities that I use. But again, there's something just so beautiful about receiving sound. And so relaxing. And again, it's just such a beautiful modality to be able to use. And I remember when I stopped by a couple of weeks ago, I forgot the name of the instrument that you were using. And same thing, you had me just sitting there with my eyes closed. And you're right, I could not identify what the instrument was. And it's almost like your mind just lets go. And you just get to this state of bliss and just presence. And when you're in that state, the more you can be in that state, the more healing capabilities and abilities your body not only has within itself, but can receive at the same time. So it's such a beautiful bridge.
Yeah, that was a thunder tube. And
that's what it was called. Yes.
First, you would say, okay, it's this tube and it's got a spring and you're shaking it. But again, having the eyes closed is now mysterious. So again, telling the brain a story, where it's also important to have a skillful means behind it, because it could very easily go into an area where it's not pleasant, and we don't want to bring that in.
Right.
So
yes.
that's where that skillful, gentle, to slowly ease it into the energy field, to slowly bring it closer to the ears. Once you have a person first, everyone, you need to feel safe and secure. You need to trust, and that allows, and have permission. So
right.
all these little ingredients are going from when a person enters the room to starting the whole process. There's many different stages in that, and the main overall part that we're working on is everyone's problems has to do with a certain subject or an object. Those subjects and objects have certain causes and conditions of our experience in our life. So we're not necessarily doing something to put like a band-aid on your thing, on your problems. Here it sounds good, now go back in. We want to do a little bit more in that. So we're trying to help you to realize that I can come to the state here, but I can also do this if I go out for a walk in the rain. And I can do that if I open the window and listen to the wind go through the trees. So these are where all those different sounds come in. And again, all of our problems, again, 75% ailments are created in our own brain. So the way we think has a lot to do with that. But again, looking for the subject and object, which is why you have the high blood pressure or the depression. And that is the cause and condition of a certain subject and object. So we need to go a little bit further back and work those things if you're going to have everlasting experiences, and have it be done, gone. Done is done.
Exactly.
It's
Absolutely. I love that.
yeah, yeah. It's no
Yeah.
longer disempowering. This thought that was disempowering me, I kept repeating it in my head. Well, why are you doing that?
Mhm.
Well, someone said something that made me mad. Well, wait a
Right.
minute. They said once. How many times are you saying it to yourself? Who's the bully? So
Mhm.
we retrain how we're thinking and put our attention somewhere else and become part of our own solution.
I love that. And that's, again, how empowering is that to know that we have the agency to make these small changes that can make these profound differences. And so maybe now is a good time to transition into how does this relate to that path of happiness?
Sounds good.
Right?
So, what we want to think about is that your brain is not capable of a creative idea. It's made to strategize, how do I get through life and survive and all these different things like that. But creativity comes from somewhere else. That's that intuitive, hit those. Now it's different from the brain wanting to tell your brain a story. You're going into dreams. There's a difference between that. Are you in your own storyline, or are you actually getting something that's authentic wisdom? So we're
Right.
looking for that authentic wisdom in whatever belief system you have, because we honor all belief systems, but it's the purest of pure places.
Right.
And the elements is called space. Everything started from. So we want that pureness to come in and drip in like nectar and come in and give us that creative, intuitive hit. And that enters our internal system, and then realize that we are experiencing life out of our five senses. And when you're in this direction, this is a place where you find that peace and happiness. It is a simple direction. However, it's one of the most challenging things to do because society trains us the opposite.
Right.
So again, to back up this direction, we inhale air, this mystical substance, into our body. We eat nutritious food for our gut.
Yes.
Our body gets in the vitamins and nutrients, and then we have an elimination process for the toxins. So again, these are three ways of that direction is all perfect and normal for us.
Right.
The opposite is this is going to make me happy. That made me mad, and starting to judge these things. Now, if that's we gave that the power to make you happy, the happiness got to come from within you, not that, because that's never going to last. Something's going to happen. So we want to. We'll always have this direction. So when that mind chatter starts taking into those poisons, which basically we all have these five poisons, which are called anger, pride, jealousy, desire, and delusion. And each one of those affect our five major organs. So when we notice this process coming through, because we're all human, it's important to notice it and say, okay, I'm starting to do that thing. And if I retrain my thought of allowing the brain to quiet down and to listen and feel that nectar coming through and realize, well, wait a minute, that overdwelling brain of mine that needed to get that answer, chill pill right now and sit over there.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
and find happiness.
Yeah. And that's so beautiful. Normally I'm on a trip in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a beautiful, warm place here in March, this time of year. But normally when I'm up in Connecticut, I actually have a little sign behind me that says happiness blooms from within. And it's just beautiful that you mentioned that, because it's one of those things that took quite some time for me to discover personally as well. And really, there's nothing more I think powerful than that. Once you really start realizing that all your happiness is really already here inside of you. And it's like you said, getting that, I love how you use that word nectar, like allowing it to drip in like nectar, and to access it and recognize it and acknowledge it can be absolutely life-changing. And it doesn't matter what's going on around you. It doesn't matter who said what or who did what. you're
Yes.
centered here, you know, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. That nectar is actually the antidote for the poisons. The nectar is considered
Mm,
wisdom. So you're bringing wisdom in to help you solve these certain challenges, which is in our karmatic history, you know,
right.
and things that we have. And, you know, we're all human. We all, you know, make mistakes and do things, and we try to do our best and forgive and forget and peace, love, joy, surrender, Jerry Garcia, all that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's where it's important. Why hold on to anger, which is poison?
Right.
It's a lot of times, unfortunately, you know, human driving these days can be traumatic. You can
Right.
find gripping that
Oh,
steering wheel
yeah.
because of the zigzag drivers. Well,
Right.
that grip of the steering wheel is basically squeezing your spine, which is preventing the chemical, electrical, magnetic signals to
Right.
flow free through the body. You're hurting
Exactly.
yourself by
Right.
doing that. You know,
It's
let
so
the baby
true.
die. See
Right.
you.
Exactly. And that's it, because when you think about it, that person's long gone and they're doing their own thing. But if you're holding on to it, you're only hurting yourself. There's no one else, you know, you're just, you know, at that point, really, when we talk about forgiveness, that's been a topic that I've been, you know, contemplating a lot recently and things like that. And forgiveness at the end of the day is for us, because if we're holding on to it, we're only hurting ourselves. And it's also giving the grace. I found that at times we may not be ready to fully forgive, and that's okay as well, because we have to come from a place where we do feel ready. And it's like that insight and intuition from within of when we're ready to let go. But again, I love how you draw that bridge, because again, it does affect us, our physical health. And that's, I think, a topic that isn't really well known of. And I call it emotional energetics, which I recently realized. Someone's like, where did you come up with that word? And I'm like, I don't know. I've just been talking about it that way for like over a year or two now. But you know, when the energy of the emotions, for example, anger, it's affecting not just our energy field and our emotional health and our mental health, but again, like you mentioned, that connection to the organs, it literally has an effect on our physical health as well. And there's thresholds that once they get kind of crossed over, then we do have disease and conditions and ailments show up. And at the same time, we can reverse that process. And what one of my biggest beliefs is, when we address those emotional energetics, then we can get physical change at the same time. So it's such a beautiful, just like flow of like, let's just move through the whole spectrum. Let's take a look at everything.
Yeah. And that's the wisdom.
Well, that's
The wisdom
it.
is the antidote, the wisdom of, you know, teaching and sharing and all those things. Love your saying. I like to use, this is myspace.com.
I love
You know,
that.
this is my space. Nothing comes in my space without my permission. So
Mhm.
we do energetic work to clean our energetic field like a mirror, so it reflects back to us a shiny new self. You know, like taking a mirror out of the attic where it's old and dusty. You don't get a very good reflection. How do you feel good about yourself if you're looking at yourself in a dirty mirror?
Right.
So spending that time to do that self-healing in many different ways that
Mhm.
are offered, you're brightening your field. But now the second part of that, like as above, so below, that
Mhm.
when outside sources are trying to infect you, your auric field, that mirror that's shining back to you, you can flip it. And
Mm.
now actually block and create your container. This is
Right.
myspace.com. Nothing is coming
Love
in
that.
my space without my permission.
Exactly.
And you know,
Hmm.
so you're not sending it back with the same energy that's trying to hurt you. You're sending it back with some love and compassion,
Right.
which is similar to like Aikido is using a person's force against them, you know,
Hmm. Right.
to defend yourself. So
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. And now, again, maybe this is a good time to now talk about like that judge-free life. And that was one of the topics. How would you say that kind of flows into that topic at this point?
Yes. So again, those things that we have, the brain is always looking for answers. The body is always looking for pleasure. Those are the two never-ending knots. The body's never satisfied. What would make me happy right now? Some food, something to drink, a nap, exercise. It's always going to be looking for something else.
Oh, hold on a second. I think you muted yourself, Ed, before you go too far. Or did I mute you?
Allowing that to.
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, a call was coming in.
Oh, gotcha.
So allowing that to kind of go away and not give this bowl is making me happy. We don't want to give that away, that power to something else. So that's that whole judge free zone. If you don't like something, instead of attacking it or allowing it to affect you, change the way you think and feel about it. And if enough people around the planet do that, we can actually change the world.
Yeah.
But it's start within you.
Right. Exactly. And that's really the truth, is that when we work on ourselves, when we transform ourselves, that's the most important work that we can do. Because like you mentioned, by that, the vibrations, the frequency of it goes out to others. And, it's at the end of the day, we can only change ourselves. We can't change others. But by doing the work and changing ourselves and improving ourselves, that's the best work at the end of the day. And the most, beautiful thing that you can do for yourself and others at the same time. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. And this recent lesson that I'm, working with and instilling to, again, for my own self, is to continue reminding yourself. First of all, you have to get the wisdom of it first. And learn some things. But you're experiencing life out of your senses. So what is coming out of you is what you're enjoying. There's the trick. It's not this food that tastes good that makes me feel good. It's my taste buds that are going to energetically connect with something that creates happiness. But the happiness is coming from me to enjoy that. So there's that little trick thing, which also, again, society wants you to buy everything. We don't, so we don't need those things. We connect with the things that, understanding. I get pleasure when I go to a sound meditation. I get pleasure when I go for a walk and just exercise and let my stress go. One of the other things when I go for walks is I purposely keep telling myself, I'm bringing in creativity and I'm exhaling my experiencing watching the wind in the trees. I'm exhaling my experience watching that squirrel run through the trees. Exhaling watching the kids play.
I love that.
Tell yourself that, because we always think the opposite. And it's going to take a while. You got to do the work.
Right.
So practice.
I love that way of thinking about it, right? Just those words that you used really resonated with me. And, it's interesting because it reminds me of a assignment my daughter was given back in preschool. And they each had to write, finish the sentence. And it started with, "It makes me happy," and then ... So, the kids were like, "Oh, it makes me happy when my mom hugs me," or, when we go to the park, et cetera, et cetera. And I was looking at that kind of recently. I was like, what if we started that sentence instead with, "I am happy when"? Why are we, again, just the beginning of that, just a couple words, "It makes me happy." So you're giving the power away to something to make you happy, instead of just acknowledging that I am happy when XYZ is happening. And just that little shift in words, just like you were talking about, it just resonated with me. Just that little shift in words can make such a big difference in the way we perceive things and our experience. Yes.
There's another, you just reminded me, the saying, "I am that I am." If change it, I am that. I am.
Mm,
Or
yeah.
this is in the
Yes.
harmony of all of energetics of quantum physics and everything
Mhm.
being somehow attached to everything else. You are part of this. So
Right.
I am that. I
Right.
am.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
don't need it because I
Yeah.
am that.
Well, that's it. And that's where, again, like we were talking about the judgment, if you find that you have more compassion to others, you end up having more compassion towards yourself, because when you start recognizing yourself in others and that I am that, right? I am, and everything and everyone around you, um, again, like the energy of your experience changes, because all of a sudden, I am that person. That's a reflection of me, or I'm a part of that person in a way, and they're a part of me. And, again, it just brings up this unconditional love and compassion for everyone and everything around you.
Yes, that really goes into one of the lessons I learned in my Neuro-Acoustic classes. That's from a Lama.
Mm-hmm.
He's an abbot of a monastery, the wisdom keepers of the world. He was sharing the fact that if we actually looked around, seeing everyone as they at one time could have been our sister, our mother, our father, our brother, that we're all family related and we have a good family connection,
Mm-hmm.
we would have that compassion for people and things
Right.
of that nature, and understanding that people are at different levels. So if you have a little extra, why not give some to that person to help balance? Because together we all want to avoid and help others from their pain and suffering.
Right.
We don't
Absolutely.
want, why not? Yeah.
Right. Right. No, wonderful. And so for our audience, if there's anything that really stood out for you or resonated with you, go ahead and put it in the comments. One, by writing it down, it actually helps you remember it better yourself. But it also helps our audience, because there's people who may be just skimming through and catching different parts of the interview. So if you can put your favorite part or biggest wisdom that you gained from the interview here in the comments, you're helping the community at the same time as well. And Ed, how can people work with you or find out more about you? I know you have trained so many people yourself personally, and I know you also do classes and sessions. Can you tell us a little bit more about that as well?
Yes, I teach 20 different classes currently.
Mm-hmm.
That's still
That is a
growing.
lot.
Located in Hartford, Connecticut, within the Art Space building. But I'm on Facebook, the Ed Cleveland Sound and Reiki Training Center, or my website is www.edclevelandsoundhealing.com.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I'll put those links in the show notes as well for everyone.
Yeah. And then I got a nice little saying that has to do with what you were just talking about.
Perfect. Yes, I'd love to hear it.
So this was a little gift that I came across. They say that you attract what you need to heal, you get what you tolerate, you accept what you feel you deserve normally. But what if we took those words of wisdom and we changed it a little bit? Keep healing your wounds so you stop tolerating less than you are worth and start attracting what you deserve.
I just got chills. I love that.
I'm going to say that one more time.
Yeah, do it.
Your wounds so you can stop tolerating less than you're worth and start attracting what you deserve.
So simple and
Simple.
challenging at the same time. But thank you so much for the beautiful message and for spending the time talking together today. I always love spending time with you, and I always feel like I always pick up little tidbits and always learn something new from you. So I absolutely appreciate you being here. And I think we may have to do it again, because I remember our last conversation about the elements and things like that. And I don't know, I'd love to do more about that as well. So we will definitely be in touch about that. And again, for anyone that's interested in learning more about Ed, or attending one of his trainings or classes, I will leave his links down below in the notes. And also, if you can send me the link for your book as well, because this, again, I cried when I was reading your chapter. So definitely, moving, and I love the tools that you provided in your chapter in the book as well. So I'll include that link as well. Oh yes, these are cool.
And I have CDs, which are actually gongs.
Oh, so cool.
They are on my website. You can get the digital downloads. They're 3 of the 5 elements. One is fire, so it helps people with, again, if you have a ailment, fire helps to, heat the body and things of that nature.
Right.
Water element, and then space. And so they're really good to help you meditate.
Oh, I love that. Awesome.
So,
Yeah,
wisdom.
exactly. I'm going to have to check that out too. All right. Thank you so much, Ed. It was wonderful talking with you. Thank you for spending the time together, and I look forward to talking again soon.
And safe travels home.
Thank you very much.